name is Helene, and since you last saw me, things have changed around here. For instance, the background, I have put some of my other books up here, and that's basically it. But also my reading taste has changed, and I'm going to get more into that later. But right now, let me just say that this is the video for my September wrap-up and my October to be read. Now, the first book I read in September is a book that I don't really remember reading at all this previous month, which is very bizarre because I do remember the book, I just don't remember reading it this month. Goodreads says that I read it, so I must have, but that is Panic by Lauren Oliver. This is a book about a game called Panic that our main character Heather likes to play with her friends, or she doesn't really like to play it. She just needs to, because if you win this game, you win a grand prize of a lot of dollars. So that's why she participates. This game is very dangerous. You have to do some extremely dangerous things when you play this game, and you just have to do it. You have no choice. If you want to win this game, you just have to do it. I enjoyed this book, but I, at the same time, didn't really like the way it was written. I don't really know what to say because I don't remember reading it, as I started out saying. It gives you a thrill inside when you read about some of the dares that they do in this game, and I think I ended up giving this book 3 stars. The next book I picked up in September is Landline by Rainbow Rowell, her newest adult book, and this is a book about a marriage which is very unhappy. We have our main character called Georgie, and she lives with her husband, and as I said, they don't really like living together anymore. And then one day she discovers this old phone at her mother's that she used to use when she was a young girl, and she tries to use it, and then she gets in contact with her husband, but when he was 20 years younger, and that's all very exciting because that's when they started falling in love. And yeah, basically, that's the premise of the story. It sounds weird. When I first read the premise of this book, I wasn't sure if it was something for me, but then again, it was by Rainbow Rowell, and I know that I love her books generally, so I picked it up anyway, and I really liked it. I think it was so endearing. Even though I'm not in a marriage myself, I could completely understand what she was going through, because at least I felt I could, because Rainbow Rowell is that great of an author, I think. And I think I gave this book 4 stars. Don't quote me on that, I may have written 5 on Goodreads, but thinking about it now, it is more like 4 stars for me. Next, I picked up an adult fantasy novel, and that is The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker. This is about a golem and a genie who live in New York. In the beginning of the story, they don't know of each other, but we are introduced to each one of them, and we get to know them, and then gradually their lives entwine. It's very magical, if you can say that, because we have no such things as golems and genies in our world today. At least I don't think so. Don't quote me on that as well. But it was magical. I love the fact that this takes place in New York, because even though this is a magical story, it was set in a world that I know of, and that was very interesting. And also I love the fact that one of the characters, I think it's the golem, I'm pretty sure it's a golem, starts working at a bakery, and I loved those scenes. And the genie was just interesting as well. He has some interesting things and problems that he deals with in his life, and basically I think I gave this book 4 stars. Next, I picked up Little Beach Street Bakery by Jenny Colgan, and this was my first book by Jenny Colgan. I had heard some things about her. I had heard that she is a great adult chick lit writer, and I love my chick lit. Whenever I need to relax, chick lit is the best genre to do that. And I picked up this book and I didn't really like it. I gave this one 2 stars because it was way too predictable and shallow for my taste. The main character finds herself in a relationship in which she is unhappy, and then she breaks up with her boyfriend, or he breaks up with her, and she moves to an island where there is no civilization whatsoever. People live there just because they can't afford to live in the city, and it's all very solemn and very mysterious and very dark and windy. She finds this house that is basically a ruin in the middle of the island, and she buys it and she starts living there and starts baking there. That's why it's called Little Beach Street Bakery. I cannot really tell you anything else about this book because that's basically what the beginning is like, and I don't want for you to be spoiled. But as I said, it wasn't really my taste. I think that it was a cute read. It has some very cute scenes, I will give it that. But that's it. I didn't like this book, so I gave it 2 stars. Next, I read 2 books that I have already done a video review of, and that is The Maze Runner by James Dashner, as well as I Hunt Killers by Barry Liger. I thoroughly enjoyed these books. I enjoyed this one a little bit more than this one, but if you want to know more about my thoughts on them, then please go and check out my review. I will put the link below. I think I gave this book 4 stars, 4.5 stars, and then this one 4 stars, but actually I think it's more like 3.5. This book makes you think, so I've been thinking a lot about it after I did my review, and there are some things that are bugging me, unfortunately, but I still think that this is a great dystopian book. It is so captivating, and if you are a dystopian fan, it is a must read. This is more like a crime story, but with the point of view of a serial killer's son. And all very interesting. I loved it. I loved the humor in this book, and I loved it. Next, I picked up what was to become my favorite book of the month, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is an adult crime story about a couple. Suddenly, the woman disappears. Suddenly she just vanishes and the husband is left alone, and gradually we get to know the husband, and the police realize that he might be the murderer of his own wife, and this case starts building, and we as a reader don't really know what to believe, what not to believe. We follow the story from the point of view of the husband, so it's very hard to figure out if he is the murderer or not, and that's all I'm going to say. I will define this book in 3 words, and that is surprising, beautiful writing style, which is not a word, that's 3 words in itself. Anyway, and very much captivating. I highly recommend this book. Read it before you watch the movie. I haven't watched the movie myself, but generally I just think that people should read the books before they watch the movies. I of course gave this book 5 stars. I finally managed to pick up the last book in the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. This is Mockingjay, the ugly cover that is sold here in Denmark. I don't like it, but I read it and I quite enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not going to go too much into detail about the story because obviously this is the 3rd book in a series. So yeah, that's it. Next, I read another adult book that has become another favorite of mine, and that is The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. This is about a main character called Don. He is not like normal people. He likes to be alone. He likes to have his set routines in his life. He likes to count things. He always counts how many minutes it takes to go from here to there, how many minutes it takes to cook your food. And then one day, he is about 35 years old, I believe. He realizes that he really wants to find himself a wife. So he starts the Rosie Project, which is actually called the Wife Project to begin with. But he meets Rosie, and the story moves on from there. I love this book because the main character is so unique. I loved being inside his head and really understanding what was going on in there, because all these numbers, it was impressive. I think I started thinking in numbers when I read this book, and I don't know why. I just was so infatuated by him. I loved him. He was so endearing, and he doesn't really understand what is going on. He's not very good at socializing, and yeah, just a very touching story. I think I gave this one 5 stars because it really is good. Next, I picked up Shattered by Terry Terry, the 3rd and final book in the Slater trilogy by Terry Terry. And as some of you probably already know, I did not really like this conclusion. I had a hard time getting through this book. It took me about a month to read. I finally read it and finished it, but I didn't really enjoy it. It was okay, but it wasn't what I was expecting. So I ended up giving it 3 stars on Goodreads, but thinking about it now, it's more like 2.5 stars. It didn't do it for me at all. And that leads me to the last two books that I read in September, which are two young adult fantasy books, and that is Falling Kingdoms and Ripple Spring by Morgan Rhodes. First of all, these covers are gorgeous. I love them. I love the colors. I love the ambience that they give you, and I think that they very much reflect the story, so that's very good, I think. We follow the story from different points of views, and people have been saying to me this is basically a Game of Thrones written as a young adult fantasy novel, and I agree with them. I actually thought it was too resemblant of a Game of Thrones at some places. A great story about wanting to take over some land and some thrones. And yeah, I definitely preferred the first book to the second one. I think I gave this one 4 stars and then this one 3 stars. Before I finish, I just quickly want to share with you what I plan on reading in October. And that leads me to what I started out saying in this video. My reading tastes have changed a lot since I last did a wrap-up video. And that means that I am beginning to become very much fed up with young adult books. I still read them, I still enjoy them, and I still have a lot of them to read behind me on my shelves, but I'm not enjoying them as much as I did a year ago. So I have gradually started reading more adult fiction, and that means that in October I would like to dedicate the whole month to reading adult fiction. The first book I would like to read in October is also the book that I'm currently reading, and that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is a monster of a book, and as you can see, I have read most of it. I have about 150 pages left, and I am definitely going to finish this in October. I am loving it. I'm going to tell you more about this in my review of it, because I am going to do a review of this book. I also really want to read The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, the same author as The Goldfinch. I am actually planning on doing a review of both books in one take. I would like to compare the two books and see if Donna Tartt has changed in her writing style and in her storytelling. So you can look out for that in the upcoming weeks. I will one day be posting a video in which I review these two beautiful books. Last but not least, a book I will definitely be reading in October as well is The Imperfectionist by Tom Rachman. As far as I believe, Tom Rachman is Danish. I'm pretty sure about that. And I have owned the book for a couple of years now as an ebook on my iPad. And it's about time that I read it. I really want to read it. It is about working at the newspaper world and trying to create news and writing about it. And I love that world. I don't know why, I just do. So I'm definitely going to put that on my to-be-read list for October as well. And besides from that, I don't know what I'm going to be reading. I have some ideas, but you will have to wait and see. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please let me know if you have any comments about the books that I've just talked about. And until then, have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.